power below deck supports work done far from shore and far below daylight. Stability matters long before the line ever tightens. The tackle is built for a deep water strike in low light. Large hooks and visible bait signal a species that attacks with reach and force. Each branch line is staged for the same kind of encounter. Repetition reduces error once the gear disappears into the dark.
Even with no squid in view, the system still reflects the target. This is deep pelagic gear, not equipment for reefs or the seafloor.
The machinery is prepared for sudden drag and fast changes in load. Deep water squid do not behave like slow bottom catch.
I think I see something at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, I got it. Looks like a pot of whales.
Heading starboard.
The first baits go out in a measured rhythm. Everything is arranged for a strike that will happen far below the deck lights. The line enters open water one section at a time. Below the surface, it now waits in the pressure and cold that shape giant squid.
Far below, movement first appears as a vertical shape rather than a broad body. That alone already suggests something other than a fish. The bait hangs in the cold water column where light fades quickly. It is placed for a hunter that rises out of darkness rather than structure.
Emerging from the inky blackness, the colossal squid reveals itself. Though tempted by the bait, it passes without.
Now the animal is unmistakable. The mantle, the fins, and the long feeding arms all belong to giant squid.
The eye is large, the body hangs in a vertical balance, and the arms move with quiet control.
It does not rush in blindly. The arms test space first, while the body remains suspended in control.
First approach is inspection, not commitment. In this darkness, even a giant squid measures before it commits. For a moment, the animal disappears completely. Then the water around the bait begins to change. The bait disappears into the arm crown, and the line comes tight almost at once. The hook seats cleanly near the beak as the load builds.
We got a strike. She's running fast. Hold her steady. More tension on the winch.
The crew reacts to sudden motion first and waits second. With squid, tension can change quickly and unpredictably.
Below the surface, the animal moves by jetting backward through the dark. The pull feels different because the body answers with bursts instead of tail beats.
The contact point matters here just as much as it would on a fish. A clean hold keeps the load aligned as the squid turns and jets.
The lane around the live line have to stay clean. Fast shifts in drag leave no room for clutter on deck.
The goal is not to overpower the animal in one moment. The goal is to keep every moment controlled as the load changes.
The whole anatomy finally becomes clear. This is not a fish in disguise, but a giant cephalopod built.
Then the water clouds with ink. The defense is brief, but it confirms exactly what kind of animal is on the line.
The line tells the story even before the animal does. What is below is pulsing, turning, and changing angle with every burst.
After the first struggle near the bait, the animal drops again. It trades visibility for depth and pressure.
The crew answers with small gains and constant discipline. In a giant squid fight, consistency matters more than force.
The arms open and contract around the line of tension. Even now, the animal is still trying to control space around its mouth and bait.
Recovery happens in pieces, never in one motion. That rhythm is what slowly takes the fight away from the animal.
The circles begin once the strongest bursts shorten. That is when the animal starts losing the depth it depends on. Under deck lights, the work feels slower than it really is. Offshore, careful timing is what keeps the system intact.
Keep the tension, watch the tentacles. Don't let it break free. Haul it up slowly.
Eatlets. The bursts get shorter, but the body still answers with powerful contractions. A giant squid never fights like the hold remains clean and stable. That single contact point now decides the rest of the landing. When it rolls, the body catches light in a way that feels almost translucent. The mantle and arms reveal just how different this anatomy really is.
At last, the animal begins to come higher in the water. The surface now starts pulling as hard as the line does.
Keep it steady, she's fighting hard. There's the flash. It's huge. Watch the line tension. Look at the mantle. It's huge. I'm getting a length measurement now. Stand by. Confirmed, 22 meters.
A body this long and soft cannot be rushed at close range. The landing plan is built around support, not force.
Inside the hull, the scale becomes obvious. The animal looks less like a catch and more like a living sheet of muscle and arms.
Okay, easy now. Pull the starboard side up. Got it. Watch the tentacles on the left. Steady, steady.
The crane takes over where hands should not. The body clears the rail in one long, careful lift.
Once it is over the rail, the fight becomes a handling problem. Long, soft-bodied animals create their own kind of difficulty.
On deck, the full anatomy is easy to read. Mantle, fins, arms, and tentacles all confirm the species without doubt.
The eye, the mantle surface, and the fin shape confirm exactly what is on the deck.
The hook comes free from the same place it's seated. Clean placement is one reason the landing stayed controlled.
We need more ice over here, quickly. Securing the straps now. Watch the tentacles. Look at the size of that eye. It's incredible. I've never seen anything like it.
The animal leaves the landing station and moves into cold handling. The race is now against warmth, pressure loss, and time.
Temperature takes over the story once the animal goes inside. Cold is now the main tool protecting texture and color.
The outside is cleaned before deeper handling begins. Good product starts with cold surfaces and disciplined motion.
Even at rest, the body keeps its unmistakable silhouette. The species lock stays visible. Cold is prepared before the body arrives. Cold storage is the next step in keeping the mantle and arms structurally sound.
Cold storage begins the next part of the chain. Preservation now depends on even temperature and careful support.
Inside the hold, motion finally stops. The vessel now carries a species whose quality...
With the European flying squid secured below, the vessel turns back toward shore.
The return trip stays inside the same open water world that defines Giant Squid. Distance and darkness remain part of the story all the way home.
As the vessel nears the industrial hub, the sheer scale of the operation becomes clear.
At the shore facility, the catch changes hands without changing temperature. Even the transfer equipment reflects the length and softness of Giant Squid. Transfer is built around insulation, speed, and full body support. Giant Squid cannot be handled like rigid fish.
The shore process begins with space planned for mantle length and arm spread. Species lock still matters before the body even comes into frame. The product stays inside controlled air as long as possible. Cold and order matter even more with delicate cephalopod flesh.
Once the cover comes off, the species is obvious again. Mantle, fins, arms, and tentacles dictate every next step.
The body still carries the same hanging geometry it had at sea. On the table, that shape becomes a cutting plan.
The giant squid, freshly harvested, undergoes a rigorous cold water wash to remove impurities.
The first cut follows the mantle, not a backbone. Giant squid are opened and broken down according to sheath, muscle, and arm structure.
Once the mantle is opened, the arms and tentacles become their own product line. Species lock continues through every cut. The mantle lies broad and glossy on the table. Its value comes from thickness, surface integrity, and clean texture. The surface is refined into a cleaner, more uniform sheet. On squid, texture preservation matters as much as visual appearance.
The meat is pale, smooth, and slightly translucent. It is firm but elastic, built for ring.
The mantle is divided into even forms that suit different uses. Uniformity helps later stages while keeping the species' identity visible. Tentacles carry their own texture, shape, and visual signature. They keep the species obvious even when the mantle is off the table.
By this stage, the body has become a series of clean squid products. The shape changes, but the species' signature remains unmistakable. Each portion enters a package that protects moisture, air exposure, and surface quality. Soft, pale flesh depends on careful packaging.
Once the seal pulls tight, the product becomes easier to move without losing condition. The package now carries texture and appearance forward. The product rests briefly before deeper chilling. Even in packaging, the species remains visible by color, shape, and cut style.
Fast chilling protects texture by shortening the transition into stable cold. The chain succeeds by moving quickly without becoming rough.
Boxing creates the next layer of control. At this point, the body is no longer whole, but the species' logic is still intact.
Palletizing turns many small packages into one transport unit. The system becomes less personal here, but not less exact. From here, machinery takes over where hands leave off. The cold chain is built to make human error smaller, not larger.
Storage is not passive waiting. It is an active part of preserving the work that came before it.
Once the trailer door opens, transport becomes part of the cold chain. Land replaces ocean, but the rules do not change.
At distribution, the product is transferred without warming up. The chain succeeds when nobody has to improvise.
The catch is now reduced to portions, but its identity is still obvious by color, cut, and texture. Quality is preserved, not invented.
The cold chain narrows from pallets to kitchen-ready portions. Control becomes more intimate, but no less important.
Now the product reaches the kitchen. The final judgment will be taste, but it still begins with handling.
The seal breaks, and the final stage begins. What was once a deep-water predator is now a texture problem in the hands of a cook.
The surface is dried and scored before heat touches it. Squid has to be managed for tenderness in a way fish does not.
Seasoning stays simple because the texture is the point. The cook is trying to preserve the species' character, not cover it.
The pan takes the outside first. With squid, the timing has to stay precise so the flesh remains tender instead of tightening too far.
A short rest lets the heat settle without overworking the flesh. Even the last pause protects tenderness.
Inside, the flesh turns opaque white and stays glossy and tender. The result is neither flaky nor steak-like, but clearly squid.
The final plate looks simple, but it carries every earlier decision inside it. Species, handling, and heat all remain visible here.
With the first cut, the chain becomes taste. Texture is the proof that the process held from ocean to table.
By the end of the plate, the scale of the operation is easy to forget. That is often the sign that it worked.
The vessel keeps moving long after the plate is served. Offshore work disappears quickly, but its result stays visible in every clean slice.